Well, I guess but now's a better time than ever. Boy!
Oh, this you crazy mother...
I'll flip it on screen right now. What you're going to see is a 96 C4 Corvette. This car overall is worth its weight in performance. You're going to find them LT4 cars, which are a little bit more desirable, anywhere from on the bottom, really bottom side, about $7,500 on up to, I actually saw one on the forum today for 22 grand, which is pretty absurd, but the car had like 3,000 miles, so I can kind of understand it. So really what I want to drive home right now is that, you know, an LT4 6-speed, and by that I mean you could only get, in 1996, there were 2 engine options and 3 trims. So you could get a base car, which you could option with an LT4. It would come with an LT1 as standard, which was 300 horsepower, and you could get it with an automatic, or you could have the LT4 base or LT4 collector's edition, or you could get the LT4 in the highly coveted Grand Sport. They're all Admiral Blue. They're beautiful cars, and they're also very expensive, somewhere in the $20,000, $25,000 area for a nice example. At that, by 96, Chevrolet had discontinued the ZR1, which was kind of the performance pinnacle of that generation of Corvette, and the fastest car you could get was a LT4 6-speed car. You're talking 0 to 60 in under 5.5 seconds if you got a good driver. Pretty decent handling car. It can be a little floaty. More so focused towards my car and why, or not necessarily my car, but the 96 and the LT4 cars to be specific. What you're going to find with those is that they're dead reliable. The only real problem I think you guys see with them is the OptiSpark, which was a really cockamamie way of running ignition.
What are those?
Can be faulty sometimes, but on 95 and 96 year models, it was a 2nd generation system, and it was vented or something. It was more reliable. Basically, if it got wet and didn't dry out, you were in a big way. So it was not very pretty if you had to redo it, because it was gear driven off the cam or something, and it's not fun to replace. You have to rip the whole front side of the engine off. And the transmission, which isn't necessarily goofy, or it is goofy, it's not necessarily faulty. It was a ZF 6-speed, one you could actually find in that generation of BMW 540i's. So if you bought a 6-speed BMW or 5 Series at the time, chances are it came with that ZF 6-speed, if my memory serves correctly. Someone in the comments will probably correct me on that. So what you have now is a 330 horsepower, 340-ish foot-pounds of torque, 3,300 pound 2-seater that's American. I mean, I'm going to call a spade here. The interior is horrendous. The center console trim doesn't really look like it has anything to fit into on the front side. There's no screws holding it in, and the clips are either broken off or they just don't fit anymore. The door panels just, I guess, have fatigued to the point where they don't want to hold on to the upper lip. I mean, the interior is definitely a sore spot, but something that can be worked on nonetheless. But, you know, mechanically speaking, and that's where these cars really come into their own, it's sound, man. You know, it's dead reliable. It doesn't burn oil. It pulls hard every time. I mean, it's a fast car for what it is. You think 1996, what was in production in 1996 that would do 0 to 60 in the low 5 seconds? What was the equivalent Ferrari at the time? A 348 or a 355? Was it 355 around by then? I would think that a 330 horsepower Corvette could probably keep up with one of those. What was the equivalent? Did Ford make a car even that fast? Probably not. I know Dodge had the Viper, but in the mid-90s, 1996, I think, was maybe the first year of the GTS, but that car was almost, it very well could have been 6 figures. I'll pop it up on screen, but it was an expensive piece. So what you have now is something that, for the time, was very, very fast. For now, is still pretty damn quick. I've surprised several people. There was a 2-liter Genesis, and I know 2-liter Hyundai Genesis isn't exactly a really fast car, but, you know, it kind of like WRXs where the guys driving them think that they're the fastest things on earth. And I just rolled into it in 4th gear, and I came up from behind him in my car, and we pulled up to the light, and I had the windows down because it's Georgia, and it was hotter than hell. And he says, "Man, that thing's fast." And I mean, is it fast? Relatively speaking, I've been in faster cars, and there's definitely stuff that you can buy for that price point. That maybe a Fox Body Mustang, perfect example. $10,000 in a Fox Body Mustang, you can have an 11-second car, 10-second car, very fast. But it's going to kill you, and you're probably going to kill other people in the process. So what you have now is a car that handles all right. It gets pretty dang good gas mileage on the highway. I can click over 26 miles to the gallon without much of an issue if I keep my foot out of it on the highway, hit cruise control, and let it ride. It's comfortable-ish. The tires I have on it produce quite a bit of road noise, so that's not really the car's fault. And you know, it looks good. I mean, my car is rough around the edges, but it's what, you know, car guys would call a 1040, or, you know, they call girls that too, but that's another story. They'd call it 1040, where from 40 feet away, my car's a 10. You know, from 20 feet away, it goes down. It's probably about a 7. You get up on top of it, the front trims a little bit. There's a little bit of hazing on the nose piece, and the stripe that whoever the previous owner put on isn't like where it really is supposed to be. There's a couple little cuts in it where he's had to kind of splice it together. And I can't be mad about that because I paid $9,000 for the car. And I've had it since June. And aside from the fact that I haven't gotten the AC fixed, it's been a joy to drive. 100%. It is not the easiest car to get in and out of. I'm 6'2", and I don't know if you can tell, but I'm kind of a wide guy. And getting in and out of it can be kind of a pain, but I signed up for that. It was either that or an S2000, and quite honestly, I parked my car next to an S2000 at the apartment I live in, and I'm kind of glad I didn't get one because it's not for me. I mean, the car I was looking at was very nice, but it was just not for me. And I guess that's where you really need to sit down, and when you're deciding where, you know, this $10,000 price point, there's a lot of stuff you can get. WRXs. You can get a very, very cheap E46 M3 or a very nice E36 M3. I was looking at one of those. You can get an S2000 that's kind of an AP1 S2000 with around 100 to 120,000 miles for that much money. You can get a C5 Corvette for that much money. If you really, really look, there was a guy in Massachusetts wanted $9,000 for his. Nice car. What else can you get? You can get a BMW 330i or CI ZHP. Which was the handling pack, or I think it was just handling on top of the regular 330i E46 generation BMW. So I think if you're looking for a sports car that gets good gas mileage, is safe-ish, it's got a couple airbags in it, and is really inexpensive to insure, you really can't go wrong with this generation of Corvette you're talking about. I pay $130 a month, and I'm 22. I mean, my driving record's clean, but it's one of those things where you're not going to escape paying a lot for insurance on a sports car. And as far as Corvettes are considered, I thought I did pretty well at $130 a month. That's full coverage, $500 deductibles here in the States, which is very reasonable as far as I can tell. So, you know, it's all up to you. And at the end of the day, I think that's what a lot of people, I get asked all the time, what should I buy for this much money? $20,000, $5,000, $6,000. But there's an endless list. But for me, at $10,000, that price range, it was kind of a no-brainer. It was not that much money. It was pretty inexpensive to insure. I mean, I've gone over this stuff. And when I heard that car start, and you just kind of hear that, you hear a V8 burble, and you really you kind of fall in love, or I do. And I guess I can't stress that enough, is when you start that car, what kind of emotions are you feeling? What is being evoked inside of you? And so I guess this has turned more into like this existential look into the human psyche, more so than me telling you why you need to buy a 96 Corvette. But buy a 96 Corvette. It's been a lot longer than it should have. Follow us on Instagram at ClutchKickHD. Like us on Facebook, ClutchKickHD again. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment. I don't honestly care. This is something I'm going to start doing. Hopefully in the next couple months you'll start seeing some other stuff rolled out. But other than that, it's just going to be kind of these rant videos. So I don't know. I don't have any sign-offs.